We'll start opening statement from Coach and then Charlie after.
So it's great to be back in Coleman. We had a exciting weekend out there in Portland. It was good for us. We played 3 quality teams. You know, now we get to, after that 4 overtime game, hopefully all the fans that were fired up watching that thing on TV come into Coleman and support us in person, because it'd be great to get good crowd support here Saturday. But you know, I think we learned a lot about ourselves. We got tons of room to improve. We tried to get better this week. You know, I thought defensively we were pretty good for most of that weekend. You know, we essentially had 3.5 games of basketball. So, and I really, outside of the 9 minutes, you know, 4.5 minute stretch there in the first half against UConn, another 4.5 minute stretch in the second half, I thought we were pretty good. On the defensive and offensively, we had some work to do. We've been trying to clean a lot of that stuff up this week. We'll see where we're at, you know, against South Dakota State. I mean, the game last year against South Dakota State was tight all the way up till midway through the second half. It was a 3-point game at the half, and it took us a while to open it up. You know, they play a style. They're not afraid to run with us. They're going to take threes. You know, they do a good job. They coach well. I think they played 8 out of the last 9 postseason tournaments. So I mean, they're good. So we'll have to play well. You know, we're injury front. Clowney's practiced a little bit today. We'll see how he feels after it tomorrow. He had a pretty bad contusion back there that everything, I mean, taking a while. It was, I mean, had tingling down his leg for most of that North Carolina game. He couldn't, you know, definitely couldn't play in that game, and we've kind of held him out this week, most of the week, trying to get him, see if he can go. He'll be a game time decision. Don Welch is still day-to-day trying to get his calf like healed up. It's just a long, kind of long healing injury, if you will. So, and then other than that, we should be good to go for tomorrow on the injury front. Darius is back with us. He looked good in practice the last couple of days, so that's where we're at.
Charlie.
That last part was also going to ask about no Darius on Sunday. Was it the thing that was ailing him early on, or was it something else?
Yeah, no, he I mean, he had some injuries and couldn't go, so he wasn't going to be able to play. We tried to play almost 4 minutes. He didn't feel it, and part of it is coming back from injuries. Is you got to have your mental side of it too. Like he wasn't able to practice. We kind of threw him in there hoping he could give us something, but he just wasn't comfortable playing for us.
Hurt.
But now that we got him a week of practice, he was good today. I mean, he's been good all week. He feels like sometimes it's hard when you sit as long as some guys sit to just come back in and play in a game. Like I didn't plan on playing him, and then we just tried to give him a go against UConn. And it was just kind of how you practice, so you're ready to play in the games, and kind of figured that out.
Coach, this may just be a perception, but watching the finish or 5 finishes to the North Carolina game, it seemed like ball movement diminished, and I wonder if that's because it's a 2-edged sword, maybe risk-reward.
It was more they were switching everything 1 through 5, so when they moved Nance to the 5, they switched everything. And if you guys, you know, if you follow basketball closely, you remember the NBA playoffs a few years ago when both teams just started switching everything, and everything turned into a lot of isolation basketball. Look, we don't want it to be that way. That was one of the things we worked on all week, was our switch attack, getting a little bit better than just trying to get, you know, Cornerly or a point guard isolated on their 5-man, spreading it out, because, you know, Cornerly going at Nance, you know, really didn't work that well for us. But essentially what happened was they switched. We tried to go at the best mismatch we could on the switch, we thought. Then, you know, so it kind of stagnated the offense a little bit, got everything turned into a little bit of isolation stuff. We've got some different switch attack stuff we've been working on all week for teams that want to switch us late game, switch us any point during the game. So we're going to try to do a little bit better job moving the ball against switching.
James.
We talked to Charles, and he said that 44 minutes was the longest he's played on the basketball court. You know, 2 things. One, just with him being able to step up like that, you know, was that something that you would enjoy watching, especially against North Carolina. And then second, even despite the injuries, was one of the things you guys learned was that you guys still have a lot of depth, despite not being able to use everybody right away.
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys played heavy minutes. Charles, a guy that's been in foul trouble a lot of the year. We haven't even been able to get more than 20-some games because he's in foul trouble. But so it's a good thing he stayed out of foul trouble. We needed all 44 of those minutes. I thought he was great. I mean, he had the game-winning block late in that game after playing all those minutes. He was still able to get up and make a play like that. Play where we gave it to him in the post and tried to get some action off it. None of it worked, and he just decided to spin baseline, dunk the ball. I mean, you kind of see him progressing, getting a little bit better. So give him some confidence playing against a team like North Carolina, playing that many minutes, playing as well as he did is great. The depth, in hindsight, we won, so you don't get questioned as much. If one play had gone the other way, you maybe start to question yourself a little more. Maybe we should have gone to the bench a little bit more late in the Carolina game. I mean, it was one of those deals where you had a group that was playing fairly well, kind of rolled with them. Every possession matters throughout the course of every game, but it really gets heightened at the end of a overtime, double, triple. So we didn't make many subs, outside of trying to make sure that when they didn't have a five-man, when the Bakeout wasn't in, sometimes we'd struggle leaving Charles in without a matchup. Now they did have, like Leaky Black and some stuff like that, but the one guy that we did kind of get in there, Jaden Bradley, when we needed to, what he did was not easy. To sit for however long he sat, real time, to come in and play as well as he did when we needed him to, I think that speaks, volumes about his mental, just for him to be able to do that. So we do have depth, and we haven't played down Welch yet on the year. He's still yet to come in. Darius was out, so we were down 2 guys, and still, that was the 3rd game in 4 days. I think our depth definitely helped against North Carolina, who does not have nearly as deep a team, or they don't play as many guys as we play in the rotation. So, I think it'll continue to help. Every year you get guys that get banged up with minor injuries and just miss a game or 2 here or there, or illness or whatever. So I think, last year that really hurt us if we had that, or if a guy just wasn't playing well. It hurt us. I think, some guys just aren't playing well with foul trouble, injury here or there. I think we got a lot better options for guys to step up and play this year.
Mike?
You had some big wins last year, obviously, but wasn't always sustained coming out of those games into some other games. Just how do you sort of avoid those peaks and valleys, and what's the message on that front?
And we talked about that a little bit. I think the best thing to do is you can't have bad days in practice. Like, you got to just keep getting better. Like, there's a, we got core values. One of them is continuous growth. I think if you continually get a little bit better. So we walked in and said, look, great win. First, we gave them 2 days off. I was exhausted coaching the game. I can't imagine how they were playing the game. So we took Monday off. So we got back to Monday morning, middle of the night. By the time we get back, gave Monday off. We also gave Tuesday off. So when we came back on Wednesday with them, it was a great job, big wins, good weekend outside of UConn winning the whole thing. I thought we had as good a weekend as anybody with the wins we had. But we got a lot to get better at. So nobody in this room, coaching staff included, is happy with, let's congratulate you, but we got a lot to get better at. So we tried to come in and get better at stuff. We alluded to some of it. The switch attack wasn't good. We had some defensive, mistakes. So it's one of those deals where we took different themes that we had to get better at, and tried to get better at them during these 3 days. I think if you maintain that mindset that you have to get better every day, you never reach where you want to get. Hopefully you can avoid some of those letdowns. I also think our depth helps with some of that too. Like, if a guy's just not we're all human here. Some guys have good days and bad days. Guy's having a bad day, we need his teammate to pick him up, and we've got options to go to this year. So hopefully when you're walking into some of these games that maybe aren't, where everybody's pumped up, a big game is, the fans would call them or whatever, we still need people to play hard. So if you can't get yourself to play hard, hopefully your teammates able to play hard. And we told our guys, this is a maturity game. After a 4 overtime win, you could have a letdown game. But the mature group, the mature players, going to be ready to go every time. And you only get a limited number of games in college basketball. We're 7 games in. We're guaranteed 32 games. That's it. So we're almost 25% of the way through the season. So, you know, we don't have games to just throw away. So this game Saturday is a big game as far as to see who can be mature and play well in that next game.
Nick?
Kind of that vein, in terms of just the tiredness, fatigue, like Chuck mentioned, even after the 2 days off, he's still feeling a little tired. I mean, have you seen him kind of snap out of that, or what are you guys doing to help them make sure that they're getting back in the sleep schedule and just back in a good mode?
Yeah, shoot, I'm with them. It's been one of those weeks for me. Like, it's just, you know, you're exhausted. You know, you play the Michigan State game, so you got plenty of time to prep for that. But then I don't move forward to the next team until we finish the one. So then it, you know, it ends up being about 3:30 in the morning, and then you get 1 day off between those games. Man, it like you're wiped out. So I think it's one of those where we haven't. I don't think we've done too much in practice, but we've pushed them enough. We try, you know, we get with Clark and Henry, our trainer and strength coach, just on the numbers that, you know, and like, so I think we've, I hope, now there's, you know, it's not an exact science to all this, there's an art to it, you know, so it's, sometimes there's no black and white answer, but I hope we've pushed them hard enough to keep them on top of playing well, but, you know, been smart with it to not, where they need to get their legs back up under them. So we've stressed getting proper sleep, get back on the sleep schedule. You're back here, get the 2-hour time change. You know, we were up late with some of those games. Let's get back on a proper sleep schedule, and let's make sure we're, you know, getting our bodies back rested like we need to. You know, get in the gym to shoot, but let's be smart with it. Let's not be spending 2 hours outside of practice in here. Let's get in, get 30, 45 minutes of shooting in the evening, and get yourself back off your feet, get yourself rested. So we'll see tomorrow night how well we've done with it, but I think guys look good today in practice. They look like they were fresh.
How rare is the maturity level of this freshman class? It seems like you've mentioned the mental aspect of quite a few of them so far this season.
Yeah, it's actually a great question. I mean, you look at a guy like Clowney's, sometimes with staff's talked about, it's like you're talking to a 23-year-old, not an 18-year-old. I mean, he's very mature, asks great questions. You know, Brandon Miller seems to be handling the press notoriety. I think he's got a really good way about him. You know, he's got the confidence, which he should have, because he's that good of a player, but he's not arrogant, conceited. He knows he's good. He handles himself like he treats people great. I mean, he's, you know, Jaden Bradley, I just talked to you about. I mean, he sits for, you know, I don't know how long, comes in and plays as well as he does. He's one of those guys that, you know, he talks frequently about learning from Cornelius Sears. Those guys have been in college basketball a lot longer. You know, he's a pretty touted freshman, but he understands he's got a lot to learn, and he's got 2 really good guards he's playing with that can teach him a lot. So for a guy that's, you know, for some of these guys who've been recruited at the level they recruited and still have the humility to understand that they've got a lot to get better at, speaks to the maturity of them, and speaks to how they were raised, how their parents brought them up. You know, Rylan Griffin, I don't think the moment gets too big for him at all, and he's a kid that's really coachable, that just understands. So we were fortunate with that. Sometimes that's hard to 100% engage in the recruiting process, because, you know, a lot of high school coaches tell you whatever they think you need to hear to get them to recruit their kids. I think we got some real honest feedback on these guys, you know, and I think they're a mature group so it is pretty rare to have 4 freshmen all, you know, as mature as these guys we've got here this year.
Good?
Thank you.